Hi, Rachel. So, welcome to Rachel Fenlon. We're so looking forward to having you here at the Kay Meek Arts Centre as part of our Resonate series on Sunday, April 12th at 3 p.m. And great to see you and great to meet you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. It's great to meet you as well. Great to be here.
So, I know, so you're originally from Vancouver, but you're now living in Berlin, but I think you're in a different time zone today. Is that correct?
That is correct. As you know, the life of a musician is adjusting to time zones, and I'm currently in Cleveland, Ohio, in Midwest America.
Okay,
Yeah,
enjoy.
thank you.
So you went to UB, so you're from Vancouver, grew up in Vancouver, right?
I'm actually from Victoria.
Oh,
Yeah,
Victoria.
yeah. So from
Okay.
Victoria, went to high school in Victoria, and then went to UBC for my undergrad and master's.
Right. And you studied in the opera program there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Okay, great. And then, so I heard a really great story that afterwards, after you finished your master's degree, you had this dream of living in Europe and you packed one suitcase
That's right.
and
Yes.
you went to Berlin.
Correct.
Tell us about that. Just an amazing, inspiring story.
Oh, well, yeah. So, 2014, 12 years ago now, that is wild to me. I had finished the opera program, the Young Artist program at Vancouver Opera, which was sort of my first professional sort of launch into the scene. And yeah, I'd finished the Young Artist program. I thought, okay, now what? What do I want to do with my life, And had some great, gigs lined up in Canada. And I thought this, if there's any time, it's now. I was, mid-20s and just thought, let's just go for it. I felt like I didn't have anything to lose, And so I packed a suitcase. I'd been to Berlin once before for the final rounds of an audition and spent a week there. Went to the Berlin Phil most nights and to the operas, and I just fell in love with the city. And I thought I have to go back and give it a shot living here. So
That's amazing. And so you've been there now 12 years.
12 years, yeah,
Wow. And how's your
yeah,
German?
much better than when I arrived. I still get corrected on my grammar, but
Oh, you do, I'm sure.
that's very normal.
Yeah. And I understood when you first got there, you were sort of going, like you said, mentioned the Berlin Philharmonic, but you were going to concerts and then you were playing, you found a piano like a piano shop or piano showroom and you were there after hours. It's a really, yeah,
Wow, you've done
amazing.
your research.
I did my
Yes.
research, yes.
That's right. So I moved there. I, had some savings that I'd saved up from my time at Vancouver Opera, and I slowly found myself coming back to a very early dream of singing and accompanying myself. As I think that these kind of things happen when you get outside of your comfort zone, you live in a different part of the world, and you think, okay, wait, who am I? Who do I want to be? What kind of art or music do I want to make? And that inspired me to start playing a lot more. And exactly, I found this piano showroom in Mitte on Friedrichstrasse, and I made a deal with the owner, and I said, "What if I came between the hours of 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. and would you give me a discount?" So I did that for many years, or for 3 years, and then I got my own setup.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you had studied opera. So when you moved, there was a transition at some point, right? More or less. Please.
Yes, exactly. So I was really following a traditional opera path. And I think when I moved to Berlin and sort of saw that there are many ways to pursue this singing career and also musical career, I was inspired to kind of follow more what my heart and my instinct were telling me, which was to be more alone on stage and to yeah, to try this idea of singing and accompanying myself. And the first few times that I did it in really small scenarios, which were house concerts and residencies, having a real sense of home on stage, and and that was just sort of a guiding force for me in thinking, okay, I love opera, but this is actually where I feel more at home. So to answer your question, I sang an opera last year. I'm singing an opera in the fall, but it's sort of, I do maybe one opera a year instead of four. And then the rest of my year, I carve out with solo recitals or singing with orchestras as well. So that's sort of,
Right.
and that feels so great and well balanced for me.
Was going to say what a great balance that is of
Yeah,
experiences. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also very interesting because opera, of all the classical music art forms, opera is the busiest in a way, right? There's the
Yes.
most people involved.
Yes.
But then the other extreme is one solo musician on stage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think whenever I'm at an opera house, I marvel at how it's a small, like, I mean, a small city, really. You know, you look at the Met and it's, yeah, I mean, it is a city. So, and that is amazing on one hand. And I think maybe it's also a bit selfishly looking for autonomy myself that I love about what I do, or the recital part of what I do, which is that yeah, I get to make a lot of the creative decisions and it's very liberating.
Right. And yet you also have that balance of working with other people, which as musicians,
Exactly. Yes.
we always love that part too. I'd say we. The musicians
Yeah.
love that part too, right? Working with other
Yes.
people as well as the lone. So speaking of autonomy, I understand you also are composing and arranging. Tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about that. You're doing it all.
Sure. Well, in the summer, in August 25, I worked on the first sort of big composition project that I've done in a long time, and that was writing half of the music for an opera at Opera de Quebec in their summer festival. And I wrote, yeah, about 40 minutes of music that was staged for an opera and set around the themes of Pierrot Lunaire. And I wrote pieces of the original text of Pierrot that weren't set by Schönberg, and then we paired it with the Schönberg. And that
Wow.
was a wonderful and huge challenge, and definitely one of those things where I was, you know, pushed myself very far outside of my comfort zone of the life, especially having focused on performance for so many years. And at the same time realizing that, as performers, if you have, some knowledge of composition, you've done it before in your past, that it's all there, and in a way we can, yeah, some of my favorite performers or composers rather are the ones who also perform, be like Caroline Shaw or you name them. So I sort of took, I guess I'm saying like I approached it from that angle, like much more, I wrote a lot of the music improvising myself on the piano and singing and working. A lot of it is with electronics, so I myself worked with them and yeah.
That's so interesting too, because it's sort of a return to the way things were, a couple hundred years ago, right? Where,
Yeah.
Mozart was composing and performing for as one
Yes,
example.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love to think of Schubert, who actually he premiered the first 12 songs of Winterreise singing and playing them himself. Not that he was apparently very good at either singing or playing, but it's such an image, right? That they would also perform it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Great. And then so thank you for mentioning Winterreise. So I think it's usually translated as Winter's Journey.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So the famous song cycle by Schubert, 24 songs, and you recorded it in 2024 to great reviews. BBC Radio 3 and Gramophone Magazine and CBC. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was also interested to read that it's the first time that somebody has recorded Winterreise singing and playing the piano.
Yes.
So, are you in the Guinness World Book of Records? You should look
They
into it.
haven't contacted me yet. No.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank
What an
you.
achievement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Definitely felt like my kind of Everest, also with that piece having the connotations and fame that it does in the world of art song and also just in the world of classical music. Um, and yeah, but I'm so happy that I did that and at the time that I did it, and because I think it's, yeah, it, it, we should add our voices to the canon of these great works, you know?
And so let's move to the program that you're performing at the Kay Meek. So it's featuring settings of folk songs and with the music of Schubert and also Benjamin Britten.
Yes.
So yeah, just maybe if you want to just tell us what speaks to you about those kinds of folk song settings and these composers in particular. Obviously, you have a great deep connection with Schubert in particular.
Yes. Yeah, so I was first drawn to this program. It had been mulling around for a while for me, this idea of certain simple songs of Schubert. And simple, I should use air quotes because in his simplest songs, there's also so much depth and complexity, but how they evoke actually a real sense of just a song. They're just sometimes they're just a song. They allude to a folk song. You know, they're like the original pop song. I mean, they're not pop songs, but the harmonies can be very simple. And and as I was thinking about how to how to kind of design a program around these certain songs of Schubert that have also become so popular in the canon, you know, to the point that one of the pieces is like kind of a second anthem that in Germany after World War II. They're that famous of pieces, or Gretchen am Spinnrade, which I'll do, you know, and yeah, I wanted to weave another composer in dialogue with that. And of course, I kept coming back to Benjamin Britten, who's been a favorite composer of mine my whole life, an absolute master of music, and I think one of the great voices of the 21st century, and or sorry, rather the 20th century, um, and uh, and I started discovering his folk songs, of which he has many collections, so hundreds of folk songs. And yeah, I just started to build or to pick out pieces that were jumping out to me that were extremely beautiful and famous. You know, The Last Rose of Summer, Sally Gardens, the Water is Wide, the Oh Waly Waly. These pieces that I mean, I have recordings of Joan Baez singing. You know, so it's like they're so they've had so many iterations, and that the way Britten sets them with such attention to the piano and the piano evoking its own world reminded me so much of Schubert. And so, yeah, I started to sort of build this beautiful program where we have a couple of Schubert songs and then a Britten song that evokes something in that theme. And we kind of weave in between these two composers and sort of, it's like a classical folk song journey, I think is what I
Right.
would say. And as someone who sings and accompanies herself, you of course think about the folk song a lot, right? Because I think about, yeah, Joni Mitchell, great singers who sing and accompany themselves. And so it makes a lot of sense to do this program for myself. I feel really at home in it.
That's lovely. And what's also interesting, of course, is that it's about the folk songs, and maybe it's obvious, but it's about the people. So it's, it's sort of taking classical music and it's not just the, as you were saying, the maybe simplicity is not quite the right word, but lack of complexity of the actual melody, maybe, and the harmonies,
Mhm.
not the settings, but then it's about people. It's about
Yes,
the woman at the spinning wheel, or it's
yes,
about um, the fisherman in love or or
exactly,
whatever, right?
exactly. Or it's even, I mean, even sometimes it's Schubert having written a song because his friend wrote a poem and he wanted to write a poem, or he wanted to set a song to his friend's poem, you know, which we have a couple of times in this recital. And that also feels very like very much from a kind of tradition of songwriting that we can relate very much with, you know. you hear some text and you just want to write a melody. And
Right. Wow.
yeah.
Oh, fascinating. Thank you so much, Rachel. I just have one last
Yeah.
question, which is when you come to Vancouver, what are you most looking forward to, other than, of
Oh,
course, performing at the Kay Meek Arts Centre? But do you have a favorite thing to do, other than, maybe family and friends, but favorite
yes.
thing to do, a favorite restaurant, a favorite place to go?
Well, I'm gonna say the very easily Kits Beach. I just want to go to the water, and I used to live in Kits when I went to UBC, and so it's just sort of a feeling of home. I used to walk down there most days, and and my sister's coming over from Victoria for the recital, so we were already planning just walking to the beach and watching the sunset and watching the ships sitting in the bay, and yeah, that's my favorite thing.
That sounds awesome. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you that
Thank
Sunday, April
you.
12th.
I
And you'll be
can't
signing
wait.
signing autographs afterwards with your
Yes,
CDs on
yes.
sale. So thank you so much for this, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.